There are moments in life that seem too meaningful to dismiss, yet too mysterious to explain. A baby who has been crying suddenly grows quiet and locks eyes with one person across the room. A nervous dog that refuses to go near strangers slowly walks over, sits beside someone, and relaxes without hesitation. A shy cat that hides from visitors appears out of nowhere and settles comfortably at a person's feet. Even birds, horses, and other animals sometimes behave in ways that leave people asking the same question. Why do they react so differently to certain individuals? Is it simple coincidence? Is there a scientific explanation hidden beneath these encounters? Or could there be another layer that most people never stop to consider? For centuries, stories from different cultures have suggested that some people carry a calming presence that can be felt without a single word being spoken. Modern psychology also offers fascinating clues about emotional signals, body language, and the silent ways living beings communicate. The surprising part is that these two very different viewpoints occasionally point toward the same observations, even if they explain them in completely different ways. Among the people most often connected with these unusual experiences are those who describe themselves as empaths. They are known for noticing emotions that others overlook, sensing tension before anyone speaks, and creating an atmosphere where people feel unexpectedly comfortable. Many believe this emotional sensitivity creates what is often called an aura. Not necessarily a glowing light visible to the eye, but a quiet emotional presence that influences those around them. While science has not confirmed the existence of a literal aura, researchers have discovered that humans constantly communicate through facial expressions, posture, breathing, tone of voice, and countless tiny signals that most of us never consciously notice. Animals rely on these silent signals every day because their survival depends on reading intentions accurately. Babies, long before they understand language, also depend on these nonverbal cues to decide who feels safe and who does not. That simple fact opens the door to one of the most fascinating questions of all. Could the reactions people call mysterious actually begin with forms of communication that happen beneath conscious awareness? This topic becomes even more interesting when countless personal stories begin to sound surprisingly similar. Around the world, many highly sensitive people described children staring at them longer than expected. They tell stories of anxious rescue animals becoming calm within minutes of sitting nearby. Some recall complete strangers, saying they felt peaceful for reasons they could not explain. Of course, personal experiences are not scientific proof, and not every unusual moment carries a hidden meaning. Babies naturally study faces because they are learning about the world. Animals respond to movement, scent, tone, and previous experiences. Yet the frequency of these stories has encouraged psychologists, animal behavior experts, and those interested in spirituality to explore the question from different directions. Each perspective uncovers another small piece of a puzzle that remains surprisingly complex. During this video, we will separate popular myths from what research actually suggests. We will explore why babies spend so much time studying certain faces and why their attention can sometimes appear unusually intense. We will uncover how dogs, cats, horses, birds, and other animals detect emotional states far more accurately than most people realize. We will examine why calm body language and emotional consistency may influence their behavior in powerful ways. We will also look at why many spiritual traditions believe children and animals are naturally more sensitive to emotional energy than adults, and how those beliefs compare with modern psychological findings. By bringing these viewpoints together instead of choosing one over the other, a much richer picture begins to appear. As we move deeper into this subject, you may discover that the greatest mystery is not whether an invisible aura exists, but how much communication takes place every single day without words. Small details that most people overlook may quietly shape first impressions, trust, comfort, and connection. The face you make without realizing it, the pace of your breathing, the tension in your shoulders, the steadiness of your voice, and the emotions you carry inside may all send messages before you even say hello. Scientists continue studying these silent forms of communication, while spiritual traditions have spoken about them for generations using different language. When these ideas are placed side by side, they create questions that are far more intriguing than simple answers. Before this video ends, you will understand why babies often focus on certain people longer than others, Why animals sometimes seem to choose one person in a crowded room. What researchers have learned about emotional perception and nonverbal communication. Which common beliefs are supported by evidence, which remain matters of personal faith, and why many people who identify as empaths repeatedly experience these unforgettable encounters. Some of the facts may challenge ideas you have heard for years, while others may make experiences from your own life suddenly feel much easier to understand. The final part of this video may even change the way you interpret those quiet moments when a child, a dog, or another animal seems to notice something that everyone else completely misses. Welcome to our channel, where we explore the fascinating connection between psychology, human behavior, spirituality, and the hidden patterns that shape everyday life. If thoughtful topics like this spark your curiosity and you enjoy looking beyond the obvious, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our future videos. Now, let's begin uncovering why the silent attention of babies and animals has captured human curiosity for centuries, and whether the answer lies in mystical belief, remarkable biology, or perhaps a surprising combination of both. The first thing to understand is that babies and animals live in a world that is very different from the one most adults experience. Adults depend heavily on words. We ask questions, explain our thoughts, and judge situations through conversations. Babies cannot do that yet, and animals never rely on spoken language the way humans do. Instead, they survive by reading silent signals every moment of the day. Long before a baby learns its first word, it is already studying faces with incredible attention. Long before a dog decides whether to come closer or walk away, it has already noticed tiny changes in posture, breathing, movement, and voice. These quiet forms of communication often reveal much more than words ever could. A person may smile while feeling angry inside, but tension still appears in the muscles of the face. Someone may speak kindly, yet their body remains stiff and uneasy. Babies and animals are constantly observing these details because for them, recognizing safety is not just helpful, it is essential. Scientists believe that human beings are born with natural systems that help detect comfort, danger, and trust before logical thinking even begins. This is one reason a newborn baby quickly turns toward a familiar, gentle voice or relaxes in the arms of someone who feels calm. In much the same way, animals constantly judge whether another living creature is peaceful or threatening, not by listening to explanations, but by watching behavior that most adults completely overlook. Many people who describe themselves as empaths believe they naturally send out a peaceful emotional presence. Whether someone accepts the spiritual idea of an aura or prefers a psychological explanation, there is an interesting point where both views begin to overlap. People who are deeply empathetic often speak more softly, move more slowly, maintain relaxed body language, and show genuine emotional consistency. They are less likely to make sudden aggressive movements or display emotions that constantly shift from calm to anger. This emotional steadiness can create an atmosphere that others unconsciously notice. Researchers studying nonverbal communication have found that human beings continuously exchange emotional information without realizing it. Facial expressions change in fractions of a second. The eyes reveal attention and intention. The rhythm of breathing influences the people nearby. Even the tone of someone's voice carries emotional information beyond the actual words being spoken. Babies respond to these silent signals almost immediately because they have very little else to guide them. Animals rely on the same process because their survival has depended on accurately reading intentions for thousands of years. Instinct often recognizes safety before the mind has time to explain why. This silent recognition happens so quickly that many people mistake it for coincidence, while others believe it reflects something much deeper. This becomes even more fascinating when we focus on babies themselves. One of the first things infants begin studying is the human face. Faces become their earliest classroom. Every smile, raised eyebrow, relaxed expression, or worried look provides information about the world around them. Researchers have discovered that babies naturally spend more time looking at faces that capture their attention through movement, emotional warmth, and expressive features. Calm faces often hold their attention longer because those expressions help them feel secure. Babies are also drawn toward eye contact because it supports learning and emotional bonding. When a baby stares at someone for several seconds or even minutes, many adults immediately search for a deeper explanation. Some believe the child sees an invisible energy surrounding that person. Others believe the baby recognizes a pure soul. While these ideas are meaningful in many spiritual traditions, science offers a different explanation. Babies may simply be exploring a face they find emotionally engaging, peaceful, or interesting. Their brains are rapidly collecting information, forming memories, and learning how different expressions connect with different emotions. A long stare does not necessarily prove the existence of an invisible aura. It may reflect comfort, curiosity, focused attention, or an attempt to understand another human being. Still, the mystery remains because these moments often feel deeply personal to the adults experiencing them. Across many cultures, however, these encounters have inspired another interpretation. Ancient traditions often describe babies as being especially sensitive because they enter the world without the emotional walls that adults slowly build over time. According to these beliefs, infants are thought to notice emotional qualities that older people ignore. Some traditions suggest they respond to kindness, inner peace, or spiritual presence rather than outward appearance. Whether these beliefs can ever be scientifically tested remains uncertain. But they continue to exist because countless families have shared remarkably similar stories across generations. Parents often describe babies smiling at someone without any obvious reason, or becoming unusually peaceful around a quiet individual they have never met before. These experiences encourage people to wonder if there may always be aspects of human connection that remain beyond complete scientific understanding. It is possible to appreciate these stories, while also recognizing that babies naturally observe the world with extraordinary focus simply because every face represents a new opportunity to learn. But babies are not the only ones who seem to notice. Animals display equally fascinating behavior, and in many ways, they are even more dependent on silent communication. A dog entering a room does not first analyze someone's appearance or listen carefully to every word they speak. Instead, it quickly studies posture, confidence, movement, breathing, eye contact, and emotional tension. Dogs often respond positively to people whose bodies remain relaxed and whose movements are gentle. Loud voices, sudden gestures, and nervous energy can immediately change the way they react. Cats are often described as independent, yet they also read emotional signals remarkably well. Many cat owners notice that forcing attention usually pushes a cat away, while quiet patience often invites the animal closer. Horses, despite their enormous size, possess an extraordinary sensitivity to emotional states. Because they evolved as prey animals, their survival depended on recognizing danger before it became visible. Even birds frequently respond to the emotional atmosphere around them. While each species behaves differently, they all share one important ability. They constantly monitor subtle signals that many humans fail to notice. Every movement, every pause, and every shift in emotional tension provides information that helps them decide whether another creature can be trusted. People who identify as empaths often display behaviors that naturally reduce fear in cautious animals. They tend to approach slowly instead of rushing forward. They avoid overwhelming eye contact when an animal appears nervous. Their voices remain softer, and their body language often communicates patience rather than control. None of these behaviors require supernatural abilities. They simply create conditions that make frightened animals feel safer. Over time, repeated experiences like these can lead someone to believe animals are mysteriously drawn toward them. In reality, part of the explanation may lie in emotional consistency. Animals are excellent at recognizing when someone's actions match their emotional state. A calm person usually moves calmly. A patient person rarely forces interaction. This predictable behavior reduces uncertainty, making cautious animals more willing to approach. What many describe as an empath's unique connection with animals may partly reflect a lifetime of gentle habits that silently communicate safety. This leads naturally to the idea that many people call an aura. In everyday conversation, the word aura usually describes an invisible emotional atmosphere surrounding a person. Some believe it represents spiritual energy, while others use the word to describe the overall feeling someone creates simply by entering a room. Psychology provides an interesting perspective here. Every person constantly influences those around them through emotional presence. A relaxed nervous system affects conversation differently than an anxious one. Authentic facial expressions build trust more easily than forced smiles. Emotional congruence, meaning your inner feelings match your outward behavior, creates consistency that others unconsciously recognize. Human brains are constantly reading one another through tiny signals that rarely enter conscious awareness. When someone's words, face, posture, and tone all communicate the same peaceful message, people often describe them as having a calming presence. Some call it emotional intelligence. Others call it emotional regulation. Still others simply call it an aura. Different words may point toward overlapping experiences, even if they come from completely different beliefs. It is equally important to recognize why these moments do not happen all the time. A baby staring at someone does not automatically mean that person possesses extraordinary empathy. Babies sometimes look at nearly everyone because they are learning from every face they encounter. On another day, the same baby may appear distracted, sleepy, hungry, or overwhelmed by unfamiliar surroundings. Animals are equally unpredictable because every experience shapes future behavior. A rescue dog that once experienced neglect may remain fearful despite meeting the kindest person imaginable. A cat may hide simply because the environment feels unfamiliar. Weather, noise, illness, age, personality, previous experiences, and countless other factors influence behavior every single day. These reactions should never be treated as proof that someone is or is not an empath. Human beings naturally search for patterns, especially when emotional experiences feel meaningful, but not every quiet glance carries a hidden message. Sometimes curiosity is simply curiosity, and caution is simply caution. Even so, there are certain qualities that consistently make people feel safe, whether they are adults, children, or animals. Some individuals notice that strangers open up to them within minutes of meeting. Others find that nervous animals slowly approach without being called. Children may smile easily or choose to sit beside them without hesitation. Friends often describe their presence as calming during stressful moments. These experiences do not necessarily point towards supernatural gifts. More often, they reflect patience, emotional awareness, active listening, kindness, and the ability to remain steady while others become overwhelmed. These qualities are powerful because they create trust, and trust is one of the deepest emotional needs shared by both humans and animals. When people feel understood instead of judged, they naturally lower their defenses. When animals sense predictability instead of pressure, they become more willing to explore. The same quiet behaviors that build strong human relationships often shape meaningful connections across species as well. Yet carrying this kind of emotional sensitivity also brings responsibility. Many people believe empathy is a special gift, but it can also become exhausting when healthy boundaries disappear. Feeling deeply does not mean absorbing every emotion that enters the room. Caring about others does not require solving every problem or rescuing every person who is struggling. True emotional strength includes knowing when to listen, when to step back, and when to protect your own peace. Those who naturally comfort others sometimes forget that they also deserve rest, understanding, and compassion. Emotional awareness becomes most valuable when it is balanced with wisdom. Rather than trying to carry the emotional weight of everyone nearby, the healthiest approach is learning how to offer kindness without losing yourself in the process. Because the people who create the greatest sense of safety are often those who have first learned how to create that same sense of peace within themselves. As we reach the end of this journey, one message stands out more clearly than anything else. Babies and animals experience the world very differently from adults. Before words, before logic, and before opinions, they rely on silent signals to understand the people around them. They notice calmness, tension, kindness, patience, and emotional consistency in ways that often go completely unnoticed by us. Whether these moments are explained through psychology, biology, or spiritual belief, they all point toward one powerful truth. The energy we bring into a room, whether we call it emotional presence, body language, or an aura, has a real impact on those around us. Modern psychology shows that our expressions, posture, tone of voice, and emotional states silently influence every interaction. At the same time, many spiritual traditions believe that babies and animals are naturally more sensitive to the unseen qualities within a person. While these perspectives offer different explanations, they both remind us that genuine kindness, inner peace, and emotional balance are never wasted. They are felt, even when they are never spoken. Perhaps the next time a baby quietly watches you with curious eyes, or an anxious animal slowly chooses to come closer without fear, you won't rush to find a simple answer. Instead, you may appreciate the quiet beauty of that moment. Not everything meaningful needs to be explained immediately. Sometimes the most unforgettable connections happen in complete silence, reminding us that understanding does not always begin with words. Sometimes the strongest connection is the one that happens without a single word. If this video made you see empathy, human behavior, or the silent language of babies and animals from a new perspective, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We would love to hear about an experience that left you wondering whether there was more to it than coincidence. And if you enjoy exploring the fascinating meeting point between psychology, empathy, science, and spirituality, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss our next video. Don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who has experienced one of these mysterious moments. Your support helps us continue creating thoughtful content that inspires curiosity, meaningful conversations, and a deeper understanding of the hidden connections that shape our lives. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and never underestimate the quiet power of a peaceful presence.